I'm just muted, apologies. Welcome everybody. Tonight we're going to be talking about building permit basics for Chicago homeowners. I just wanted to start with a couple of announcements about some things we have coming up at the Chicago Bungalow Association. My name is Carla Bruni. I am the Preservation and Resiliency Specialist. April 22nd, we are going to have our Earth Day Bungalow Blackout from 8 to 9 p.m. Many of you have done this with us in the past, I know. We hope you can join us again. Basically, just turn off all your lights and don't use any electricity for an hour. People send in photos to our social media showing, hanging out with candles, and sometimes there'll be multiple houses in a row that aren't using electricity. So there's a nice blackout created on the street. So just how you're sort of enjoying the night without using a bunch of electricity in honor of Earth Day. May 6th, we have Protecting Your Property for the Future, another webinar. So check out our website, chicagobungalow.org, for more details on that. We are going to be recording this evening, so don't worry if you miss stuff. We're going to send out an email with a link to tonight's presentation. We'll also have a link on our website and on our Facebook page, so you can find it plenty of different ways. We'll be talking this evening for about 40 minutes, and then we'll have Q&A for the rest of the hour. So we'll do a hard stop at 7 p.m., but we're going to get through a whole lot of stuff tonight, so don't worry about that. And let's see. Yeah, I think we covered all the basics. So building permit basics for Chicago homeowners. Tonight we're going to be speaking with Martha Reynoso. She's the Deputy Commissioner at the City of Chicago Department of Buildings, and CBA member Andy Pierce for a guide to building permit basics. Topics are going to include how to know when you need a permit, how to check your home's permit history, and how to begin the permit process, and more, and a whole lot more. Just to give proper intros, Andy Pierce is a Chicago journalist who is also a former city official, a historic preservation advocate, and a trained nonprofit manager. He was a news reporter and editor for 10 years. He served in the administration of the City of Chicago Department of Building for 8 years and was chief of staff for the 2nd Ward Alderman for 3 years. He is the voice of Another Place on WDCB 90.9 FM, Chicago's home for jazz, and is the coordinator of sales and sponsorship for the public radio station. And he also worked with Uptown Theater volunteers to found Friends of Uptown in 1998 and has been actively working to save the theater ever since. And he has some historic photograph exhibitions on permanent display and has lectured for the Chicago Architecture Foundation, Landmarks Illinois, the Glessner House, the Cliff Dwellers Club, and the League of Historic American Theaters. He and his wife, Beth Eckerty, own a 1925 historic Chicago bungalow that won Driehaus Bungalow Awards in 2020 and 2021. And he's a polymath at the extreme. Martha Reynoso was born and raised in Chicago and attended both CPS and private schools in the city. With a master's in business administration, Martha has held key roles in both the public and private sectors, currently as Deputy Commissioner at the City of Chicago's Department of Buildings, Senior Hospitality Business Consultant with the Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, and Education and Training Director for the Not-for-Profit Trade Association, planning large-scale conferences and educational programs. Today, her expertise includes overseeing the Express Permit Program, which offers Chicago homeowners and business owners guidance for their construction project needs. With that, I welcome Martha and Andy to turn on their cameras and pull up their presentation, and we can begin. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening.
Oh, we can't see you, Martha.
There we go.
There we go. Great.
All right.
Andy, you can jump in whenever you like as well.
I think the host will have to.
Oh, okay.
I'm also Googling polymath.
You don't need to. Angela, is there a way to allow Andy's video to start? There we go. Great. Okay, thanks.
Hey, thanks so much. In the beginning here, I want to share a quote that I found that was really talking about smaller communities that are maybe considering having a building code. We're in Chicago, we have a great building code that is really a model for the country and the world. It said building codes and design regulations mitigate risk. Investors are more concerned with risk than red tape. Therefore, codes and regulations attract investment. In the case that we're talking about here for Chicago bungalows, you're the investor in your vintage home on your block and in your neighborhood. And the improvements you're doing increase your enjoyment and the value in the commodity you're holding on to until you sell it or pass it on to your family. You can eliminate some known risks by following the building code and utilizing the power of the city's building permit and licensing process. The overriding idea here is that for every rule the city has, there's a reason. There's a reason that that rule or restriction or guideline is in the code. From all the years of experience, from before the Chicago fire, all the great building that has happened in Chicago, we've learned a lot. Why a permit? If one is required, it is best for all involved to follow the law. Your home insurance may be invalidated if you do work without it. If later there's a problem and it was found that the work that caused this problem was not done by a licensed professional and under a permit, then that may invalidate your insurance. Your project may be stopped, delayed, or derailed if you don't have a permit. Also, violations, fines, court costs, and attorney fees may be incurred. Unpermitted or work without a permit, incorrect and unsafe work can harm your family. It may also impact the future value and sale of your home. If you go to sell your place and someone does the research and finds all this beautiful stuff you did was done without a permit, that may allow them negotiating power to bring the price down. You want to have a clean, well-done place that was all done with a permit. Also, let's face it, nosy neighbors will call on you if they don't see a permit posted. And then you get an inspector and you get the you get the ticket, you get the work stopped, and then you sit there and wonder which nosy neighbor was it, right? Dependable licensed tradespeople do work under permits. I want you to think about that. It's only dependable licensed tradespeople who do work under permits. If someone is small time and says, I don't work with permits, there's a reason. That's either because this is their hobby or they don't really rise to the level of qualifying for a license and they don't go for permits. If they don't follow these rules, think about the reason why they may not be following those rules. Successful licensed contractors won't do work without a permit. They will not risk losing their license and livelihood. Licensed contractors are required to be both insured and bonded. The city of Chicago holds license holders accountable for their work. That's for the quality of work. Having a permit and a license on your project gives you more recourse if something goes wrong or something doesn't pass inspection. When you're engaging with a licensed contractor, they require you to commit to a signed written contract. And that contract goes both ways. You're paying them to do the work that's described. You have the right as the owner and customer to have them commit to approved plans and a permit that require the actual licensed person to do the work on site. To compare, I like to give this example. If you wanted to ship goods across the Great Lakes or across the ocean, would you call on and hire an unlicensed merchant marine? Merchant marines are the ones who pilot the big ships, right? No, you wouldn't, because that's a pirate. You would not hire a pirate to ship your goods across the lake. In this case, you would not hire a pirate to work on your house. The city's licensing tradespeople is an important topic tonight, but we want to help you understand its relationship to permitting. And with that, I will pass it on to Martha to talk about the online resources.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for having me. So as I had mentioned earlier before our call, this evening, roughly about 2 hours ago, the Department of Buildings City Council appointed our new building commissioner. Our new building commissioner is now Marlene Hopkins. She has been with the department for, I believe, something like 10 years or more. She's been with the city, I believe, for 24 years. So she definitely has the expertise that the building department commissioner, we love that she knows both the construction code, she knows permits, she knows inspections, and she knows licensing. And this is a department that is dear to her heart. So with that said, her goal is obviously to work with our homeowners, our business owners, and try to make the permit process seamless and be there for you. So when we have today, we're going to go over some of the resources that the buildings department does have. And just to encourage you to do research for when you do need it. First and foremost, the City of Chicago's website is huge. It has lots of information, and you can very easily go down a rabbit hole and have a hard time finding what you need. My suggestion is to visit us at chicago.gov/buildings. You will find these 4 sections that will that pretty much divide the website into the main areas of expertise that or of concern for you. So construction codes. This is the building code. This is the rehabilitation code, the new construction code. You can find the books. They are in a read-only format. You're more than welcome to view it, print sections of it. Should you wish to really purchase them, they are available through another organization by the name of the International Code Council, and the books are something like this thick. So just be ready to go through it. In terms of permits, we have different types of permits. We have what used to be, last time I was here, we were talking about easy permits. Those have now transitioned into the express permit program. We have self-certification permits, which I'll go into a little more detail later, and standard plan review permit, which is really geared towards my full renovation project. I want to add in addition to my back of the house, or I want to build out my attic and maybe I want to have a dormer. That is your standard plan review permit. Developer services and specialized reviews are really more geared towards larger projects, your multi-unit buildings. And by multi-units, I mean like 40 units. So definitely not something we're going to cover today. We have inspections and reports section. So whether you're looking for building history, inspection reports, how do I put in a complaint about, I don't know, maybe you see water collecting in the alley and have a concern that maybe it's going into your garage or it's overflowing, or it's becoming an ice skating rink. That would be the location where you can put in your 311. Just like it's very similar to the 311 phone call we make. And then there's trade licensing. We license, the City of Chicago does not manage its own licensing. So anyone who is interested in a license, I would encourage you to go to this page. But most importantly, what you want to see on this page is how to search the contractors that you're working with or dealing with or getting a quote.
Martha, I'm sorry to interrupt, Martha. We're not seeing the PowerPoint if that's supposed to be up. So I just wanted to make sure, yeah, that is not being shared for some reason.
Okay, I do apologize. Let's,
Oh, no worries.
I don't have the ability to share anymore.
Okay. I think Angela might be working on that then. Let's see.
Can only stop, let's see, give me 1 second.
1 second, sorry, trying to fix the
Here,
screen
let's-
setting.
How's that?
There we go. Yep.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. I thought that
All right, sorry about that.
Okay.
Let me just go back one, just so that you can see the 4 sections I was talking about. And then we'll fast forward. We didn't miss much. So from this, these are the 4 sections I'm talking about, that you can see at chicago.gov/buildings. And then this will be a deeper dive. So my first suggestion, whether it's you've lived in the home for 20 years, or this is a brand new home, or maybe you're looking at purchasing a new home, a new bungalow, know your history. So it's not, it's know the history of the property, know the history of your address. You can easily conduct your own search. The Department of Buildings is probably the most FOIA'd department. People want to see plans, people want to see what kind of violations there are. People are interested in the history of an address, and that is all available at your fingertips. It's just a matter of entering the address and hitting enter, and you will see all the permit history, all the inspection history, all of the complaints, 311s, if the property received a violation. If this is a property you're interested in purchasing, my suggestion is run a quick search. Run a quick search. Obviously, you want to speak with the realtor, but more importantly, run a quick search and see what kind of history there is. Did the building permit on the home have inspections? If it didn't have inspections, question it. Why? Because remember, an inspection is what's going to tell you that the work was done correctly. If you see, oh, well, it looks like they had a rough new construction inspection and a rough electrical inspection, but never had a final. Why did they never have a final? I would question it. If you see that they had plumbing work, but there was no plumbing inspections, how can you guarantee that the work was done? Again, I would always search the address, search the property, to see what kind of history you find at that address. I can't tell you how many times I've had people come here at City Hall saying, and more recently, actually, maybe about 3 weeks ago, a young woman came in with her mother. They had just purchased a 2-flat, and she was excited. The home was beautiful. It was everything was new, but it had not one inspection. And then all of a sudden she had problems with drainage. Things were not going down. So it became apparent there was something going on. So let's dig up the basement and the ground and see what's going on. So when she started removing drywall, started removing the flooring, behind the walls, she found trash. They were just bags of clothes. So there was obviously that became a bigger situation. We ended up finding out that the home was actually dangerous. Behind the drywall, there was termite damage, and the home was no longer safe. They had to evacuate the home. So, I mean, that is absolutely extreme, and the intention is not to scare, but the intention is to educate ourselves to why we need to know what's going on at that address. What does this building permit need? And why did it or did it not have inspections? We were talking about trade license contractors. On this section of the website, this is actually brand new this year. You'll find a search where you can either search by all contractors or specific contractors. So if you're only looking for electricians, you can just go down the route of searching for electrical contractors. So hypothetically, let's say I am talking to ABC Electric and they are telling me, yeah, I can do this job for X amount of money. My license is active. Well, I'm going to do my due diligence and I'm going to go onto the city's website and I'm going to look up ABC Electric, and I can find out whether or not their license is active or when did it expire. Maybe they've not been in business for the last 3 years, but they say they're still active. So you will find that kind of information on this page. You can conduct a search for any licensed City of Chicago contractor, not to be confused with a business license. So those are two separate things. A business license is something that a business would need to run a business in the City of Chicago, such as retail. Whether I have a restaurant, that's retail. I'm selling t-shirts and equipment. That's a retail license. That is a business license. So what we're looking for, these specific companies are trade contractors, trade license contractors that are put on permits. And this is the type of company we would expect to be put on a permit and then to be inspected. The reason why they're licensed separately from business affairs and not given a business license is because these folks, we can suspend their license. We can have a conversation. the trades are, this is their bread and butter. And we have, I feel like over time, we've been able to have, our inspectors have been able to have a better working relationship with them. So if the plumbing contractor, the mason contractor decides, you know what, I'm selling my business to so-and-so. Well, before we close, before we transfer the business to so-and-so, we're gonna make sure all these permits have been inspected and that they're officially closed out before this transition happens. So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes with trade contractors.
Martha, can I add there that this is somewhere you can look up somebody you're considering to do work before you engage with them?
Absolutely.
Because you can go into the permit process, put in their license number and find, oh, this person isn't licensed. And anyone who's licensed and doing business lawfully, they're happy to give you their license number so you can check it out.
Right.
You know, it'll be
Right.
printed on their business card. Sometimes you'll see it written on trucks and vans.
Yes.
And I think there is also a directory. Of course, that's what you're looking at there is you can search their number. But I think you could probably look at all licensed people if you wanted to, right?
You can even use it as a directory. If you're looking
Mhm.
for a plumber, you're more than welcome to, I mean, it's in alphabetical order, so you might have to go from A to Z, but don't give all the A's the business. Let's, you can go to G maybe, I don't know. But yes, you can find them by company name, by license number. And I believe even, I believe it's company name and license number.
It will also be revealing if you put in a license number and the name of the person, the company or address or whatever doesn't line up. And that's when you might find someone using someone else's license number, either with their permission, which they shouldn't, or without their permission, which they really shouldn't.
Right.
But yeah, sorry to interrupt there. Those are
Oh, you're
just a
fine.
couple things that come to mind.
No, good points, definitely. So we're going to go through when a permit is not required, and then we'll expand on when it is. So the exception here of when a permit is not required is when the property, the address, the home, is part of a Chicago landmark designation. So as an example, within, I still call it Marshall Fields. I know it's not Marshall Fields, Macy's. If you've ever been down the halls, they have these beautiful fountains, drinking fountains. That fountain has not been removed because it is a landmark. So just the way we have exterior, landmark homes, you also have homes that have interior features that cannot be altered. So that unfortunately and fortunately, those are protected by the History Preservation Department, Division of the Department of Planning and Development. If you're interested in just questions or just want to know if your home is or isn't a landmark, you're more than welcome to reach out to them at landmarks@cityofchicago.org.
Martha, may I add there that some people will be reticent to become a certified Chicago bungalow because they fear that, or they misconstrue or misunderstand that it's landmark designation and that they won't be able to make changes to their home.
Right.
A certified bungalow meets the criteria of, is it a Chicago bungalow? And it's not saying you can or can't do things in the future to it. It's just recognition that you have a Chicago bungalow. And Carla, if you'd like to add more there, please do. We know that we have some bungalows that are in landmark districts, whether it's a city district or a National Register district, that may have additional requirements in the permitting process or additional review. But the vast majority of Chicago bungalows aren't protected under that.
Yeah, we have all of our Chicago bungalow National Register districts don't have any requirements. So you don't have to, it's really just an honorary designation. If you want to monkey with your house a bunch, the worst thing that can happen is you don't get a potential property tax freeze. So which is a designation, which is something you wouldn't have anyway if you weren't listed. So it's really not at all restrictive, which is why we're kind of a fan of them, because a lot of bungalows have made a lot of alterations over time. But it's a lovely thing to be listed on the National Register. Local city landmark designation does have special requirements. There are very, very few bungalows on those. They're all in districts. You probably know if you're in one of them. So it's not what we do at Chicago Bungalow, though.
So if you're watching this right now and you're not a certified bungalow, please become one. And if you're a landmark, let us know, because that would be interesting to know which bungalows are within city landmark districts. Carla, thanks for mentioning the tax advantage of being a bungalow in some of the National Register districts. I'd forgotten about that.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
So some of, again, in going through items that you can do in a non-Chicago landmark home, you're able to go ahead, paint, replace wallpaper, tile, carpet, ceramic floors, cabinets, countertops, trim work, such as baseboards and trim. You can replace up to 1,000 square feet of drywall, and that's roughly about 32.5 sheets of drywall. So if you can get an idea of when a permit's not required, you can replace 9 fire rated ceiling tile, again, with the condition that we're not touching any mechanical work. So no duct work, no electrical, and no plumbing. So as long as we're not touching any of that, a permit would not be required for these scopes of work. You're able to replace your windows, all of your windows, all of your doors, the hot water heater, furnace, boiler, condenser. Any type of portable heating would not require a permit, or repairs to this. So if you're doing maintenance, or I had to replace the motherboard on my furnace, which was not fun when it was really cold, and I did not need a permit for that. Any self-contained refrigeration systems with less than 10 pounds of coolant do not require a permit. Exterior work. So there's a lot of, this one I want to mention because I do, we get there's a lot of confusion on roofs. Re-roofing, if it is a shingled roof, shingle replacements do not need a permit, except for low slope roofs. So in other words, the lower the slope, the more likely you will need a permit, but the higher the pitch, you probably don't. So sorry for the visual, but I can't tell you how many times I've seen, this is probably the permit application that I see the most, and it breaks my heart because they don't need a permit. We do tell them, and it's just a lot of back and forth, like, but no, my contractor's saying I need it. No, you don't. Martha told you, you don't. In-kind replacement of exterior siding or coating such as EIFS or stucco, that does not require a permit. Any in-kind replacement of porch stairs with a landing size of 50 square feet or is under 6 feet in height would not require a permit. So if it's just the landing and the stairs and my landing size is 50 square feet or under, and my porch is under 6 feet in height, if I want to remove the entire porch and replace it, I can do it without a permit. But now let's say I want to go from 50 square feet because now I want a larger landing size because maybe I want 2 chairs out there and a table. Well, now I want to change the size. That's a whole other conversation, which we'll go into a little later. That would require a permit. But again, landing size of 50 square feet and under 6 feet in height does not require a permit. You're more than welcome to replace it and not worry. Installations of swimming pools with a water depth of 48 inches or less, or not greater than 5 gallons, do not require a permit. So above ground pool that is at that height and 5,000 gallons, again, would not require a permit. The playground equipment for the children, the installation of equipment does not require a permit as long as it's accessory, again, to a home or 2 flat or 3 flat. Any work to private walkways such as concrete. So if when you walk down the stairs and there's the concrete path that leads to the right of way to the public sidewalk, let's say it's all cracked. If you wanted to replace that, that does not require a permit. But the actual sidewalk that belongs to the city, that's actually a permit that would have to be obtained through the Department of Transportation. And I'll have to apologize. I believe they even have a whole program that you could apply for to get assistance. I think it's something like, my understanding is that it's a 50-50, or 50, they will, I think you can select the contractor, but the cost will be divided in half. And again, that would be a permit directly through the Department of Transportation. And I highly encourage you to start the conversation with them if at any point you do want to do work to the right of way. Landscaping, plants and vegetation, gardening, whether it's a flower bed, that does not require a permit. Shade cloth structures or nurseries for agricultural purposes don't require permits either. So small accessory structures. So these would be your tool, garden, or storage sets. And we'll lump them in together. Open gazebos, trellises, and pergolas. Any accessory structure separate from your garage that is no greater than 150 square feet and no taller than 15 feet in height from grade from the ground, as long as it has no plumbing, would not require a permit. But it does need to be 6 feet away from any other building or structure. So my gazebo, my pergola has to be, if you think, I mean, if it's a typical, let's say maybe 30 by 125-ish lot, Chicago lot, your gazebo is probably going to sit right in the middle of your yard, or at least 6 feet away from your garage or home. Anything over would require a permit. Doesn't mean you can't have it. It just means that you need a permit. And we went over Chicago landmarks. Is there anything else you'd like to mention on?
No,
Okay.
other
Again,
than that, just we don't want to confuse people that, being a certified bungalow and being a member doesn't put you in this category. This is like Carla said, if you're a Chicago landmark, you probably know it. And if you're in a landmark district, you probably know it. If you're in a National Register district, you probably know it. This applies to a very small number of Chicago bungalows.
so if in fact you are designated a Chicago landmark, discount everything I just said because you will require a permit to replace your door, to replace your windows. And some of these permits are actually now free. So if you did have a window door replacement, chances are that you would receive a fee waiver from the Landmark Commission and would end up with a free permit, which is kind of cool. Especially and to the extent that you're working inside the home and it accompanies any exterior work, that might also be free as well. So now that we know when a permit is not required, the $1 million question, when do we need a permit then? So this in November of 2023, we launched the guide to permits with the launch of our express permit program. So if you were to visit us at chicago.gov/permits, I like to call this the gateway to everything permits. Because it will give you a great snapshot of everything you probably need to know about building permits. And I'm just going to go over the top header. Instructions, the instructions section of the website goes through a few scenarios. I'm looking to do interior work. What do I need? What is eligible? What is not eligible? Work to let's say mechanical work. I'm looking to replace the duct work. The document section within the permit application process, no matter what kind of permit you're applying for, as a homeowner, as a owner occupied homeowner, you are able to act as your own contractor, as your own mason, and as your own plumber. Unfortunately, today, the city does not allow you to act as your own electrician. So these, under the document section, is where you will find the forms that you would need to complete to say, I am taking responsibility for the work in my home as GC, plumber, or mason. Codes, the code section is very similar to the section we talked about earlier. It goes into the building construction codes. And apply is to apply for the permit. Again, it depends on the type of permit that you're going to be applying for. Check status. I'll highlight this one briefly, just because if you are not the one applying for the permit, but you have maybe your garage contractor said, I'm going to go ahead and apply for the permit for you. And you can always go to check status. If they give you an application number, you can always see where in the process that permit is. So I love to use check status, especially for people who are using let's say a licensed expediter or a contractor to prepare drawings for their home. It's a nice way to know where in the process is it, and what kind of corrections did the city give my architect. Where there will always be corrections. No architect is 100% perfect. I have yet to see it. The city will give corrections and say, the window you are proposing is too small, or it's you don't have enough light and ventilation in this bedroom. These are the type of corrections you can expect to see in a project. But during this check stat, and as long as you have the permit number, you can check the status, you can check the comments, you can see what reviews are pending. So if and whenever you do decide to do a full renovation for your home, or just have a smaller project and want to see, did my contractor acknowledge that they are performing the work on this permit, I encourage you to use this. There are 4 types of permits. We have the standard plan review permit, the self-certification permit. These 2 permits require architect's drawings. The drawings, the standard plan review process pretty much requires the architect to submit plumbing, electrical, ventilation, refrigeration, and drawings for all of the work. It goes back and forth, city architect, city architect, city architect, until officially is approved and ready to go. Self-certification, some architects like to charge a little more for this because it does go through a faster process, and they have gone through additional education to pretty much say, I know the building code. I do not require the back and forth process that the standard plan review process requires. So those permits will be issued relatively quickly. If I had to give you a time frame, I could say the self-certification permit from the time of initial deposit, every permit requires a deposit. I would say it could be issued in anywhere between 30 and 45 days. The standard plan review permit can be issued anywhere between 40 to 80 days. Again, it depends on the scope of work. So it's always a good conversation to have, but just some food for thought. And lastly, the express permit program. The express permit program covers permits for fences, masonry work, mechanical, non-structural interior work, emergency repairs, removals of garages, plumbing, re-roofing, small scale solar, so anything under 13.44 kilowatts per hour, and window or door replacements. And then we have our electrical only application, which usually is applied for by electricians only. So just to go over some quick projects of what that permit process looks like for that scenario. If you're looking to do a dormer addition, that's a candidate for standard plan review. You have an open porch and want to enclose it, again, standard plan review. A garage rooftop deck, not an express permit. I know it's simple, but unfortunately, we need to make sure that that existing garage can actually support your rooftop decks, which is the reason why it's not an express permit program permit. Finishing a space for occupancy, such as the basement or an attic, whether you're looking to add an additional dwelling unit or just it's unfinished. Again, the building code requires a certain amount of light and ventilation for a bedroom, for a living room. So it's a standard plan review permit. The express permit program is not looking at that. Changing from radiant heat. So hypothetically, let's say our home has radiant heat and we want a central HVAC system. That could go either way. Again, if you have other things going on. I want to relocate my kitchen to the front of the house and the living room to the opposite side, in addition to replace my radiant heat to a HVAC system. That's probably a good candidate for the standard plan review process. But if it was ductwork only, and that's the only work you're doing, it's probably okay through the express permit program. Bathroom and kitchen remodels, again, it's perfect candidate for the express permit program. Adding additional bathrooms, again, it depends on whether or not the space is finished. So if it's just adding an extra bathroom or half bathroom in my open basement, not a problem, can definitely be an express permit. Solar panels we went over earlier. Again, it depends on express permit. If it's 13.44 kilowatts per hour or under, but if it's over, it would be a standard plan review permit with architect's drawings. And then we went over storage sheds. And if you do have violations on the home, that you had no idea, you were here today and you all of a sudden you found out, oh my goodness, I have this 5-year-old violation. I bought my home last year. What do? I would read the violation, see what it's calling for. See, the most popular violation is not having a permit for a fence. I would just get my permit for the fence, request an inspection, and you're done. Other resources, it was a hot topic back in 2021, 2022. The additional dwelling unit. Again, it was the additional dwelling unit was being allowed in certain areas within Chicago. The program is still active, and for additional information on whether or not your address can apply for it, you can visit chicago.gov/edu. We encourage you to fill out the application prior to submitting an application, just so that you don't hear later down the line that it's not allowed. And then we also have the lead service line replacement program, which can be found at leadsafechicago.com. I'll leave the other two resources to you.
And I am bringing up that slide.
The Chicago Bungalow Association resources.
Oh, okay. I'll talk a little bit about trusted referrals. For someone who counts as a hobby watching the Facebook page that is Chicago Bungalow Association, the members, if you will, forum, 9 out of 10 questions are about who should I get to do XYZ in my home. These trusted referrals are like gospel. These are people that other bungalow owners have used and have had good experiences with, and they get added to this list when we recommend them, and they get taken off this list if they do a bad job. So I would start there. That's a good resource for anyone looking for any kind of contractor to do work on a building in Chicago, whether it's a bungalow, a 2-flat, 6-flat, what have you. It's a great starting point. It's like our own Angie's List, and I'm really glad the association maintains it. It's just a wonderful resource. Carla, do you want to add anything about trusted referrals?
No, you did a great job with that. We haven't necessarily worked with all of these contractors. Many of them we've not been able to work with ourselves, but they're all recommended, to Andy's point as well. So it's a great place to start. And we always recommend, reaching out to a few in whatever category you're looking for and comparing prices and asking them for all the things that make sure that they're actually qualified. And in terms of the how-to resources as well, those are basically technical sort of aspects of, repairing your home. We have we have videos that we've done showing you how to do things, demystifying different concepts. We have brochures that we've created, booklets, how-to resources across the board. So definitely check that out as well. It's really just there to kind of empower our members so that they know what they're doing when they're working with contractors, and sometimes realizing that they can even do a lot of the stuff themselves and don't have to pay somebody else to do it.
You have some prototype concepts there if people want to build out their attic, add a dormer, do some of the different common things that people want to do or talk about doing. I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like that answers many of the questions people come up with daily. A lot of that, how should we say it? There are no new ideas. So I think a lot of that has been explored, and the professionals that you guys have brought to it are then in the trusted referrals, or they're in the videos. You know, they're the same ones who've given the lectures. And then, you know, if you really want to do it, you can look into hiring them to do the work on your bungalow.
Sure, that happens often. And we also do have all of our videos are recorded. You can watch them anytime you want. You can find them on our website or on Facebook. So, you know, and if you have any trouble finding that, you can always give us a call at the office. And so, yeah, we're happy to help. However, just try to find a lot of different pathways for people to get information. All right. Thank you so much, Deputy Commissioner Reynoso and Andy. We will get into some Q&A now. I know Andy was answering some of it as we went along. I made him keep up Karen Janke's question because Karen is a friend of mine. I didn't know she was going to be watching tonight. So, and it seems like a question a lot of people actually do ask. How far back do permit records go that you can search online?
Martha, can I take a stab at that one and correct me where I'm wrong?
Sure, go for it.
In my experience of looking up permits online and also doing FOIAs on both sides of the fence, it seems like you can kind of count on what you're seeing online, free, easy access, 24/7, for the last 10 to 15 years, maybe 20. You may see some legacy information that carried over and somehow got scanned from microfiche and so forth that goes further back into the 20s, 30s, 40s. But reliably, 5, 10, 15 years. If you want more and you want more detail, submit a FOIA. It's very easy. Email the department and ask for it. Is that kind of what you see?
That's exactly what I see. Yeah, you can, on the website, you can definitely find the most, I would say 20 to 25, maybe 30, if you're lucky, 30 years. If and when you do request submit a FOIA request, I would just know what you're asking for, because provide me with the plans to my house, but my house, I mean, my mom's house, for example, was built in, I think it was 1910. That house has no plans. And we're never going to find them. So unfortunately, a home built in the early 1900s or late 1800s, we're never going to, I mean, you might be lucky and find something at the library. And I believe at one point someone had mentioned that UIC might have archives of earlier drawings of homes. I've never researched it.
Yeah, I would say
something I've
no,
heard.
probably not. Yeah, it's so hard to find it unless you find them rolled up in your attic or something, get really lucky. But yeah, we've had a lot of questions like that over the years.
Carla, who has the ABCs on how to research the history of your home? Is that Chicago History Museum?
Well, it's sort of changed over the years. You can find a lot more information online than you used to be able to. Chicago History Museum, you can do a ton of research though. They have microfilm there. UIC has put their original building permits online. So if you actually can navigate that, it's not that hard, but it's a little clunky. We've done classes, so you can actually just go on our website and look back. I think probably maybe 2 years ago or something, we did an online webinar about how to research it that goes through step by step. So I would recommend looking at that and walk you through it because there's a lot of ways to skin that cat.
Yeah.
I also wanted to let everybody know, I just wanted to remind folks, we are recording this. Anybody who signed up tonight, you're going to get an email after this with the link that'll have all of this information again. And also Martha was kind enough to say that you can email if there are like some questions we're not able to get to because we only have about 10 minutes. She'll get back to you with those answers as well.
Martha, can we give the email address for FOIA? There's someone here asking a question about the two flat built in 1910. I think they may want to do a FOIA.
You'll definitely want to submit a FOIA request. If you know for a fact that there was a permit that was pulled in 1954, there's a good chance that it's archived on either microfilm or microfiche. So I wouldn't get, just because it was from 1954 or whatever the year might have been, 1930, Don't get discouraged because of the age of the home. But if you do in fact know that something doesn't exist, my recommendation is to go ahead and submit the request, specify any information you might have, issued in 1954 or between 1950 and 1960, because any information is helpful information. The email, so if you go to, if we can read, and if you don't mind, I'm gonna take my slides all the way back to the beginning to show you where to go. If you actually create an account on the city's website, on this section under Department Records and Data, this section specifically has an area where you can create an account to submit FOIA requests, and they will send you the information electronically. You're more than welcome to download the form from the website and email it in, but I think it's kind of nice to have an account and have those documents sent to you electronically so that you can't just go in and download them versus them reaching out to you with maybe a CD. So I like technology because it's faster, in my opinion. They tend to get back to you faster than if you were to submit it via paper. Again, they will get back to you if they can't find anything, they'll let you know I can't find anything.
Okay.
The 1910 two-flat question also asked, should they do permits moving forward? Yes. They're thinking of redoing 2 bathrooms and a kitchen. A lot of what people do with bathrooms and kitchens doesn't require a permit, but if you're moving any plumbing or moving any electrical, then you need a permit.
Correct.
I'm kind of going through these. How we doing on time? I'd kind of like to buzz through them if we could get through them.
Yeah, we've only got about 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to keep buzzing through them. Jose asked, would the new installation of ductless mini splits for HVAC require a permit? There is electrical involved. I believe that answer is yes. Will a flat roof replacement for a garage require a permit? So if you
Yes.
think about an old masonry garage with parapet walls and a flat roof, it requires a permit, yes?
Yes.
Replacing, I think, shingles in a bungalow with a metal roof, owner occupied, need a permit. I don't think that it would. That would, whether it's asphalt shingles or metal, it's that steeper slope. It does not require a permit. Which people may wonder, why does the steep slope not require a permit, but a flat one does? It has to do with the reflectivity of the material. We're trying to reduce the urban heat island. They want that surface on the flat roof to meet requirements. And there's a lot more trouble with leaking in flat roofs, right?
Right.
Question anonymous. Do you need plans for an express permit?
It depends. The answer is it depends on, again, the express permit. Remember, we had scenarios where going from radiant heat to installing ductwork could potentially be an express permit. But it's going to require drawings. You're going to have to show us where is that ductwork running.
So it really depends on the scope. I'm
Definitely.
going to combine these two. Someone asked, what's the cost for permits? And then Don, at the beginning of our program, asked, the permitting and plan review timeline has been excessive. This is not a question, this is a criticism. What is the city doing to streamline that time frame to get a permit? What's the current time frame? Again, it would depend on the scope of your project to get a permit once an application is submitted. So let's talk about, in general, the kind of permits that bungalow owners are going to go for. What's that timeline and cost look like?
So again, assuming it's an express permit, your express permits, again, it depends on the scope of work. If you're only replacing a plumbing fixture, it's going to be $75. If you're applying for a fence, it's $150. The absolute extreme of an express permit, I would say maybe $550, assuming you're doing about 2,000 square feet of work, a little bit of plumbing, a little bit of electrical, and possibly some ductwork extension. That would be my high-end estimate on an interior non-structural work application.
Mhm.
Very good.
$450 for a roof replacement. Brand new garage will be 550.
Here's an
Timeframe.
unusual,
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, timeframe, some applications issue immediately, so within, as soon as you're done. Other applications require a review and can be anywhere between 24 and 48 hours, assuming there are no holes or history on the address that are going to catch the application for further review.
Sure. If owner occupied and acting as masonry or plumbing contractor, do I need those specific licenses in those disciplines in my name?
No, if you're, if this is your home and you are going to hypothetically tuck point, and install your fence, you can act as your own mason and you will act as your own general contractor. Just remember, there will be two forms you'll complete, the owner acting as mason and the owner acting as a general contractor. You would apply for your permit. We are going to ask you to upload a copy of your ID, so that we can match up your ID with the permit address.
And same with plumbing?
Correct.
Okay. And I imagine somebody else would say, electrical, can I do my own electrical work?
You cannot, you would need a licensed electrician.
Pardon me?
You would require a licensed electrician.
You would require so we're talking about the single family occupied home, owner occupied home.
Yes.
There was an unusual one here that I have not thought of in the city, since we have so much underground, we always call before we dig, right? Has the city developed a permit for installation of geothermal heat systems? And I'm assuming they're talking about digging the pits or wells for the
Correct.
system in the back or front yard.
We actually have a pilot program right now. It started last year. We've probably issued about maybe 5 permits since last year. We don't get very many of them, but we definitely have a lot of interest and questions on them. I'm going to actually put the email out there now, if it's okay with you. So if you do have a geothermal installation question or want to find out what the requirements are, I encourage you to email us at expresspermits@cityofchicago.org. If there's a project or a violation maybe at your address and you just need help on how to on just guidance on what kind of permit you need, if any at all, or how do you close out the violations, again, just reach out to us at expresspermits@cityofchicago.org and we'll give you guidance there. We'll give you options in terms of what you can do, but most importantly, we'll try to help you resolve your situation.
Great.
There's another anonymous person here that says, when a homeowner wants to sell their bungalow, shouldn't they be required to produce the latest plan showing permitted work? In a perfect world, I would say yes, but there is no state or city requirement in that transaction that it happens. And that's the research that we're giving you the tools here. And that slide, I think, is on the screen right now. You
Yes.
got to do your own homework.
Yes.
And somebody who's buying your place, they're going to do the same kind of homework.
Definitely.
All right, we got through them all. Nice work. I just kind of let Andy steer that ship. Normally I do the Q&A.
Sorry, Carla.
No, it's totally fine. I saw you were like half answering and like in your your zone. So that's great.
I was trying to win the prize, whatever that is.
You did it. Huzzah. Thank you so much, Deputy Commissioner Reynoso. Thank you so much, Andy Pierce. Really appreciate it. This was a ton of great information. We are going to, again, be sending out an email to everybody who registered tonight. We'll put that expresspermits@cityofchicago.org email in there if you have follow-up questions and need more information about your project. And we'll send you a link as well to this presentation. So everybody have a lovely evening. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.
Good luck to the new commissioner and
Yes.
keep us safe.
Thank you. I will let her know. Thank you.
Great.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Good evening.